do intro music. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. Hello and welcome yet again to another edition of Soxology, episode 46, your favorite Chicago White Sox baseball podcast. I'm your host, Mike Hurt. With me, as always, is my astute father, George. How are you doing today?
How's it going, eh? I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing? You're a
Good,
little under the
man.
weather, but you're stepping up. It's
Hey,
good.
I am built different, battling a nasty cold illness right now, but I am here to podcast for our listeners out there and talk some ball.
I've got some books in the background with my Abreu bobblehead, and I got like Ronald Reagan. For those who are watching, if that's going to be on or if it's just going to be audio, I got my Ronald Reagan neck going, where it looks kind of like Austin Powers when he said his neck looks like a vagina. That's okay. I'm I'm ready. I'm ready.
You
And
look,
here
you look,
I
you
thought
look great.
I thought I forgot about the Reagan administration, and here I am referring to it. Hey,
At least you're
yeah,
not,
let's talk
at
some.
least you don't have at least you don't have a big mole on your face.
It's true. I was worried
Molly, molly,
where
molly,
you're
molly,
gonna
molly.
go. Mullet sauce. Okay, or anyway, you look,
Hey, man, guess
you look like
what?
a baby making a fist. Um.
Guess what?
Okay. What? Sox have started. We're like a week in, and they're tonight. They're
Yeah,
not playing. But
yeah, they didn't
today
play
they didn't
today.
play, but the Scrubs are playing on the north side, which is hilarious because usually remember in 15 and 16 when they were in big games and their pitching was a little thin, they'd always like all of a sudden they'd be like 75 degrees out, and the Brewers Council was on the other side of it. Then when they Cubs would cancel the game all of a sudden like way in advance. It was always pretty funny. But
No, that is funny. And I got invited to
and
the game
June
today.
21st, I believe this game with the Braves is going to be made up. The Sox are home. I believe the Sox are home that whole week, and it was supposed to be an off day. And the Braves are going from St. Louis 3 games on their way to play in Pittsburgh. They were supposed to have an off day, and now both teams will play.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
It
right
is.
now the White Sox they're 1-4.
Yeah, and they could have won all 3 of the Detroit games. Really should have won the game. We were there.
Well, yeah,
They let
I
them.
was gonna jump into that really quick. All the listeners out there, if they listen to the last podcast, we went to the game last weekend. You, me, and my brother Matt, and
Yeah,
it was a beautiful day out at Guaranteed Rate Field. The ball was flying all over the ballpark, which was nice to
right.
see in April. You normally don't see that the second game in. I think there was like four home runs that game. So that was
Yeah.
interesting. And we
Robert
saw a
was little. I
fantastic.
picked Eloy for 2, but it was Robert. Oh, that's all
It was
right.
Robert for two. Yeah, and we saw a fantastic performance from La Pantera. He had a
Yeah.
couple of bombs. I always like to say Lou Bob, but I know he doesn't like that. So, um,
Yeah, no, he doesn't like it. And
and
but the other game
the
was 2-2 for a while, and all 4 runs were on homers.
yeah, which was funny. I mean,
What was the highlight of Saturday? I thought. One, it was a beautiful day. Seeing Connor and his dad before the game, that was really cool. Hanging out with them and your other buddies from Eastern. But a highlight was we had this cute little girl, must have been 6 or 7. Every half inning, she'd beg the outfielders after they were playing catch to throw her ball, throw her ball, throw her ball. Finally, between the ninth and 10th, I believe it was, um, they was it Robert threw a ball in her way, and it was deflected, and your brother Matt got it and handed it to her.
yeah, and that was no, that was really great.
That was so nice. He didn't even hesitate. He gave it to her right away. It was really cool.
No, that was really
Especially,
cool, and
especially
she
after
was
that
so
rat
excited.
bastard last year stole the ball from him. But I digress.
I
Okay,
digress.
biggest thing that I want to take away. The two biggest things I want to take away from the Sox so far this year. They got blown out the 1 game by the Braves. It's going to happen. Braves are a very good team. Um, Two things that really stand out for me, and I want your comment on it, and then tell me what stands out for you. Um, and a third thing I got to slide in. But okay. the Sox this year have made one error. That's crazy compared to the team we watched last year. I mean, they
Yes.
said they were going to go defense and stress it and get some guys who can't hit but can field, and they went out and did that. But last year we couldn't hit, we couldn't field, so the field's good. And Vaughn looks better at over there at first, and
He's made some
that
good plays.
yeah, he really has. And the defense has been great. Um,
Even
oh, I know.
Fletcher in right field has a cannon. He's had a couple
Oh,
assists already.
yeah, he went to the wall. Uh, Robert's been all over the outfield when we were there. Meadows for Detroit was insane how much ground he covered, but Robert was just as good. I'm trying to think of their one error now. It's escaping me. I think it was Nicky Lopez, wasn't it,
I
in
think
the
so too.
first game? Yeah. But second thing that's got to be, you know, 2 starts doesn't mean we're wrong. It's a long season, but you got to be really excited about the 2 starts that Garrett Crochet gave us. So for me,
Oh, insane.
Garrett Crochet's 2 starts and the defense only one error that didn't even hurt us is the two things. If you play defense like that, I don't think our pitching's deep enough to hold up. But we're going to be in a lot of games. A lot of games are going to be at least fun to watch, where they're going to be one-run games. But again, the
Well,
Tigers aren't like the Braves, but we did win a one-run game with the Braves. Thank God we got the insurance run. But
yeah. I mean,
those are my two things. What do you think? Garrett Crochet and the defense.
4 out of the 5 games that the Sox have played this year were decided by 1 run. They lost. They got swept by the Tigers, but each one of those games they lost by 1. They blew the Saturday game. They were winning 6-3. That'll happen with a team with the type of pitching that they have. I don't think it can be sustainable. But like you said, I think it's a night and day change in philosophy from the Hahn administration to the Getz administration. I think it's, hey, we want young players. Maybe they're not great hitters, but they're gonna grind out at they kind of grind out at bats a little bit, even though like Fletcher strikes out a lot and other guys have struck out a lot. They grind out at bats. You can see they hustle a little bit. That Shoemake guy had a great game on Saturday. He was all over the field, made all the plays, hit a home run. It's just going to be a different brand of baseball, and I think that you and I appreciate defense. And a lot of like casual baseball fans, they love the offense. They'd rather have a Texas Rangers type team with Adelise and Young and Seager and Simeon, and who knows, maybe
Young.
the
This
Sox
is my
will.
young organization.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Mine
Right.
just
He
broke.
just he just broke his
My
broke his
arm.
wrist. But no, you're right. It's going to be a fun watch throughout the year. Fun, maybe a stretch, but it's going to be more interesting than last year was. Last year, they were getting blown out left and right a lot of the time. I think there will be some trouble with the starting rotation in regards to getting hit every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you agree with that too. But I don't know. Crochet, let me just jump on that. That was so surprising for both of us, for everybody in the league. He has had 2 dominant starts. One mistake to Marcelo Ozuna has been the only run he's given up. Um, it's so crazy. How do you even how can you even comprehend a guy, especially in this day and age, never starting at all, hasn't started since college in like 2020, and he only had like 20 innings. Now, his first 2 starts in the pros, he has what, 6 innings, 7 innings? I think it's unprecedented in this day and age, and it just shows you what type of guy this is. Now, in 2 months, you could see his velocity dip, maybe. You
Mm-hmm.
could see the control not being there anymore. He can get tired, whatever. Or this guy's a huge dude. He's just gonna go all year long. Apparently, Pedro says there's no limitations. I'm sure at the end of the year, if he's at 120, 130 innings, they'll probably start putting some limitations on him, especially if they're out of the race. But I love it. I think it's a cool team to watch right now in regards to defense and pitching. And as Ozzy said yesterday night, that's how you win some ball games, right? That's how you can stay close in some games.
That's the difference between winning and losing. A lot of close games. If you can But you need pitching in defense, and we don't have any pitching. Crochet, the only thing to temper it is we both said, well, it's going to be hard for him to be a starter. He only has 2 pitches, but that's all he that's all he used. It's all he needed. But it is cold out there, and with that velocity and that slider, it's tough when it was as cold as it was last night to hit against any pitcher like that. So the pitcher's got a little bit of a head start that way. But I'm hoping it continues. His velocity did drop from like 98 to like 94, 95 the last couple innings. I was a little worried about that, and they did get a hold of one. One thing, which was Ozzy also commented on it that we talked about at the game. When they were in the 10th inning and the Tigers scored, you can't win the game until you tie the game. And we had the tying run at second, and I don't care if you needed to pinch hit for Eloy, which would, and everyone's hoping 2-run home run we win the game. But realistically, what are the odds on that? If we would have moved the runner over, he would have scored on the sacrifice fly the next batter. It would have been 1-1. And then the pressure's on the visiting team to get that run again. We should have tried to play to tie the game, not to win the game in that scenario. You got to tie it before you can win it. And I thought that was a managerial mistake to let Eloy not only bat, to swing away. I guess he's your number 4 hitter. How do you take him out? And it's not a strength of his to try to move a guy over, but that's what it called for. That's what it called for in that situation. But another couple things I wanted to point out that I saw. Paul DeYoung, kid, we're both pulling for. Kid, I think he turns 30 this year. But hit another home run, and that was awesome. That was just great. And it was a no-doubter. They hit a second home run. Pinch hit home run. That's pretty cool. It was that was great. And then we got the Vaughn got a same thing Sheets did early in the game, hit one off the end of the bat that ended up being the insurance run RBI. But another thing that I saw last night that I just said, that's Yoan Moncada in a nutshell. Earlier in the game, if you guys were watching, in on the hands, pop fly, foul territory. Maldonado turns around. It's a big windy night, bad weather night. Turns around, camps under it for a little bit, starts drifting because it was really windy. Anyone who saw Robert and Benintendi go after some fly balls knew how windy it was last night. He started drifting with the wind, started drifting, and then he ended up about 35-40% of the way towards, about 30-35% of the way towards third base. And Wynn got a hold of that one. He lunged, and it dropped in foul territory. He didn't even get a glove on. I was wondering where some help was. I watched the replay, and when they did it from ground level view, Moncada never moved. Never moved. That ball was skied. He could have been under it. He never even tried to see if he was going to be of any help. And then when the wind took it and it started blowing towards third, yes, it was still a third of the way towards the plate, 2/3 from him. He never moved. He could have been under it. He could have been under there, seeing that Maldonado was having trouble, calling him off. Didn't even move. To me, that's uninterested, satisfied with his contract and being in the major leagues. That's Yoan Moncada in a nutshell for me, was that play. It just seemed everything that I get frustrated with about him.
Wasn't that the first inning of last night's game?
It was really early. Yeah, and we ended up getting out of it.
That. Yeah.
We ended up getting out of it, but that's extra pitches. When on a starter, we had extra pitches in another inning when we had a strikeout, throw him out. The ump just totally, for the second time that inning, missed a beautiful strike. That one was by Kopech. But Yoan, that was just him in a nutshell, counting his money. And it's only now. I didn't say it yet. It's 179 days until he gets to cash the check for $5 million to go away.
Yeah. No, it's about time for him to be exit the South Side and
Yeah,
not
and
play for
and
the
he
White
is
Sox
winning so
anymore.
far this year for average. Anyway, he's got
He
some base
normally
hits
in the
involved,
beginning, even
and he had
last year,
triple the game we were at.
he had a good
So
series last year against the Astros and a good start to the year, and then he got hurt like 15 games in. So I am not holding my breath, and not holding my breath either for the other guy that's been a massive disappointment for the White Sox, Eloy Jimenez. What should the Sox
yeah,
do with this guy? I mean, he has another soft tissue injury. Is I know they're not going to cut him in the middle of the year, but that's a question of mine. Like, why not? I mean, you're not going to if he comes back, you're hoping that he's hits for a month and you flip him for something, or do you ride this out? Well, what are your thoughts on this guy? Because it just seems like it's not working at all.
no, I mean he's finally where we want him to be. He's just the full time DH. Um, I'm I'm on the record saying that he was going to break out this year or come back or try to match what he did in 19 with the 31 home runs. Wow, that's 5 years ago. We're still waiting for guys like him and Moncada. 5 years.
It's
Um,
crazy.
it's time. It's time that if he starts hitting, to seriously consider dumping him for whatever we could get, and maybe moving on no matter what he does. You know, my feelings with Moncada is I don't care if he has a great year this year. You do not give him 24.8 million for next year or try to extend him. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm gonna hold out for Eloy. Maybe I like him. Uh, I'm hopeful. It's the fan in me. Um, let's hope he can produce. And if he can produce, then we've got a big decision to make. The Getz has got to decide whether it's for real and we need to do something to lock him up again, or flip him, or just let him play out the string. I think it's going to be probably the latter. He's probably going to play out the string, and if he hits, maybe be worth more than kind of like Rodon. Rodon had a great year for us. If Eloy could do something like that, his injury history with us said that I wouldn't have given him the San Francisco contract, and I definitely wouldn't have given him the Yankees contract. I'd be in the same camp with Jimenez. If he performs the rest of the year and gets hot, I'd still be very leery of offering him anything, knowing what we know about him.
Yeah, same with Moncada.
Yep.
Just those are pretty similar type guys in regards to injuries and production the past 5 years. So yeah, wanted to bring up Eloy. Obviously, it's just a big disappointment, and he's been that way. And some people on social media, like Chuck Garfine's number two guy in his podcast, McGuffey, went crazy on Eloy, really like saying massive disappointment. I can't believe it's happening again. Like that's why I predicted him with only 20 home runs this year because he can't stay on the bleeping field. Like I get all of that, and I get all that. Like I mean, having animosity towards the guy for getting hurt, it's kind of weird to me. I mean, you don't want to,
No, I
and
never
he even
even.
no, and McGuffey says that too, but then he starts saying like, how can we pay a guy that just doesn't play? You shouldn't be playing Major League Baseball if you can't stay on the field. And I mean, I think that's kind of fair, right?
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
how would you feel? You know, the Twins with $100 million with Buxton, then they're still counting on him DHing and
yeah.
betting fourth.
Well, I
Um,
just think of it as it's their job, right? And
yeah,
it's like me taking short-term disability every single year for 2 months out of the year.
good
I
gig
don't
if you
know.
can get it,
Yeah,
but
if I could get it, yeah, if I
yeah,
could get it for my company, but
right.
you
I
know,
mean, but
it's
I think that's why I never question injuries. Um, you know, historically in Chicago, people have Jay Cutler was the biggest piece of dung that was overpriced ever, and people in that Packer game. I mean, because he was, you know, on the sidelines, he couldn't
oh,
play. He
they
was
freaked
hurt.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't blame a guy for being injured. I think he's trying. The one thing a lot of people said that he doesn't do the work. Frank Thomas talked about it after the game. He said, "What's this guy doing? He goes, if you're a DH, especially in the cold weather, but all weather, he goes, you've got to be in the cage underneath. You've got to be moving around. You've got to go underneath and play catch, stay loose. You've got to be constantly moving. It's more of a chore when you're not playing the field to do these things, but it's up to you to do them. If he's sitting there on the bench and then he grounds out and he pulls something, well, that's not a surprise. He should have been loose. He should have been more ready. But again, I don't think he tried to get hurt. I never blame anyone for getting hurt. But he's got to get on the field and he's got to produce. Or a lot of promise. I mean, what a disappointment the Sale trade ended up being, and now Cease is gone, and now Eloy is teetering.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. Well, now the Sox did make a move the other day. Mike Clevinger is coming back. They were probably the best starting pitcher that they had last year. What are your thoughts on the move?
Well, I strongly was against it last year because of his situation off the field. This year, all that's, we dealt with that last year. There's no reason to bring it all up. I mean, it is what it is. Again, I don't understand. I guess the rest of baseball spoke on this guy because 9-9 with a 3.77 ERA. Boy, there's a lot of teams that have only 3 or 4 starters that are going to compete for playoff spots that could really use that. I don't understand why he's just sitting there, unless they don't want to deal with the backlash of signing him, because we already dealt with it, so that's behind us. I mean, look at when they re-signed him just now; you didn't hear a peep, and last year there was an uproar. Well, why not? The only thing is, my hope would be that he'd pitch well, and we could trade him at the deadline for something. But he's free right now for anyone to sign practically at the minimum, and he's not getting any interest. So I don't know what a dream that is. I guess he's just going to eat up some innings on a team that doesn't have any starters. So, okay, why not?
It's fine. Yeah. I mean, maybe the Sox are thinking if he's pitching well, maybe they'll be able to flip him. But if nobody wanted him right now, I don't know if anybody would want him later. But with injuries constantly happening to starting rotations, I mean, it's not out of the realm of a possibility of flipping him if he's has a 3 ERA going into July.
I totally agree. But I mean, I can't think of the Yankees or Rays needing a starter more than they do right now. I mean, I guess they would if some more people got hurt. Woo's hurt for Seattle. Texas, they were getting pressured to sign Montgomery.
Yeah, and it can't be the money. How much money was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they didn't want him now, but maybe the right team will heat up and think a 4th or 5th starter is the difference for the second half, and maybe we will.
I mean, the Sox got him. The Sox got him for $3 million.
Yeah, I mean that's
nothing.
That's what they paid Elvis Andrus when no one wanted him in spring training last year. And this is a starting pitcher that was 9-9 last year.
Yeah, he had a 3.7 ERA, and he got.
ERA,
there has to be like a Trevor Bauer effect here to a lesser scale.
Yeah, so they just, whatever reason is, they don't want to deal with them.
And the Sox are like, why not? Just come back.
Well, yeah, we've already.
Yeah,
it can't.
We know who you are.
It can't hurt the publicity. I mean, and the Sox are like, publicity wise, and I've stuck up for Reisdorf, but this last year, it's just like he's Mr. Potter behind the desk and that wanting, Bailey Park to turn into Pottersville. Jason Benetti, he's popular. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. I don't like him. Well, I saw Garfien and Ozzie eating yesterday, or taking a shake, and I'm like, well, remember, Reisdorf doesn't like you eating on the. But I guess that's for NBC Sports. But yeah, I mean, Liam Hendricks was a feel-good story. Benetti was very popular. I listened to the Mets. I watched the Mets. Tigers game where the Tigers won in the 10th, scored 5 runs, and just listening to Jason was just. This year would be a lot better for me if I could listen to Stone and Benetti and the new guy. I finally listened to him, And he's okay. I mean, he's
Okay.
fine, whatever. He looks a little bit
Looks a
nervous
little
because
bit
I
nervous.
know he's in the booth with Stone, and Stone seemed very comfortable with Jason. And he knows he's
Yes.
following someone popular. He knows the team sucks, and it's just he's in a tough spot. So
He looks nervous. He even
he does look
made
very
a
nervous, and he's a professional guy who's been around.
Yeah, and he even said he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna make mistakes," because he did. He's like, it was a three. It was yesterday. It was a 3-2 count. Mokata was on second, nobody on first, and he's like, "Mokata's gonna run with the pitch here." I'm like, "No, he's not." I was like doing the dishes. I'm like, "He's not going to."
Yeah,
But and then after that half inning, he's like, "Guys, by the way, I will make mistakes."
yeah,
Here he goes. That's why I have the legendary Steve
yeah,
Stone next
yeah.
to me.
He was,
So
he fawned over Steve a little too much, and I do like Steve Stone a lot.
yeah.
Um, I mean,
John Striffen
Harry
is the new
Carey used
guy's
to
name.
say anything, and he'd be like, that guy just sucks or something. And then he went to the Cubs and became kind of, a Budman, Cubman, Homer guy. But one of the reasons Stone was let go by the Cubs was because the same reason Harry was let go by the White Sox, because he was saying he wasn't 100% positive. And I listened to the game on the radio. I went for a walk yesterday for like the last 3 innings, and Darren Jackson's always been okay for me. I've never fallen in love with him. I've never disliked him. I appreciated the general feeling that him and Farmio had for each other. I never really thought Ed Farmer was that great, except he's local and been around for so long.
Yeah.
I liked him. I just liked him. I didn't think he was that great of an announcer. He every once in a while, Ed would say something really good, like when they'd be down like 16-0. Sox need 16 to tie, 17 to win, or something like an just like matter of fact. But I'm starting to warm to Casper. And he first sounded very professional and posh. And to me, he's, probably one of those Syracuse guys that are all over. And he coming from the Cubs, so I held that against him. But I just think the Cubs broadcast, TV and radio, has always been kind of professional, not really, not wanting to harm anybody or offend anyone. So I always thought he was a little too professional, but I'm starting to warm to him this year.
Yeah. Len's fine. He's good at what he does. I thought
He's
always
very good
listening to
at what
the
he does. I
Cubs.
think he's frustrated.
He's frustrated, and when you listen to the Cub broadcast years back when he was broadcasting on TV for them, I've always made fun of it because it was kind of like silence and just mundane speaking, and I like Benetti and Stone because of the camaraderie and the back and forth and all that type of stuff. But Len's fine. I like listening to him on the radio, and he's just a good broadcaster, a good play-by-play
he's
guy.
very good at what he does,
So,
and he's in a band and he has fun, and he's got a lot of Jason in him. I think they're two peas in a pod, so I've been enjoying it more and more. I just feel bad for the guy because he was the Cubs TV guy, and he left because his all time hero is, I think, Ernie Hardwell from the Tigers. That's where he grew up, and he loves to cultivate and paint a picture of a baseball game on the radio more than he enjoyed TV. And he said his dream was to call to in his booth to call the last out of a World Series winner for the team he's broadcasting for. And he moved over like 3-4 years ago when the Sox were the darling of all the
and who knows, the Cubs might be.
saying that all these players are coming. Oh my God, this team's going to be unbelievable. And he left and bought into that, and now he's where he is. So I kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah, me too. Well, the White Sox are starting a series tomorrow, and I believe it's going to be in Kansas City. So they're heading over to good old Missouri. And I wanted to ask you the question, what should we expect in this upcoming Royal Series? But before you answer, let me just run through the pitching matchups really quick. So tomorrow at 6:40 start on Thursday the 4th, Michael Soroka is going to be pitching for the White Sox. He has a 7.2 ERA after his first start. I didn't realize this, but we were at that game, and he obviously gave up 4 runs, 3 in the first inning. He didn't have a strikeout that game, and I didn't realize that. So That's interesting. He's facing off against Seth Lugo.
I just
He had a
realized
really
that
good,
now that you told me. I didn't know before.
yeah, yeah. And Seth Lugo is pitching for tomorrow against Soroka. He has a 0 ERA. He pitched well his last start, 4 strikeouts. Friday night, April 5th, Eric Fetty for the White Sox. He had an okay first start, 7 strikeouts, 3.86 ERA, facing off against Brady Singer, and he had an electric first start. He has a 0 ERA, 10 strikeouts in his first start this year. He's 1-0. Saturday, it's a night game. Chris Flexen for the White Sox. He got beat up against the Braves. Poor Chris. Facing off against Michael Wacha for the Royals. He has a 5.4 ERA after his first start. Then the end of the series, game 4. This is a 4-game set. Garrett Crochet, our ace, who's 1-1 with a 1.38 ERA and 16 strikeouts. He's facing a guy that not a lot of people know yet, but I think you might. Alec Marsh. I don't know if you saw this guy pitch, but he looked pretty good in his first outing with the Royals. So, with that all being said, what are you looking forward to this series?
Well, I'm looking at the Royals. I guess it's good. Anyone they cut, we know will be a White Sox in a day or two, so we can get a good glimpse of that. One of the things I was watching looking at some box scores. Salvador Perez is just a wonder. He's just like an ageless guy. He catches like 150 games a year, like the roided up guy from the Tigers in Texas, Ivan Rodriguez, um, all the time, and he just seems to be able to do it. It's crazy. In fact, one of their outfielders, Melendez, was their great catcher coming up in the minors. They moved him to the outfield because Perez isn't going anywhere, and he's out there. But looking at the Royals. They've got a really good young player that looks like he might break out this year in Garcia. Keep an eye on
I thought you were
him.
gonna say I thought you were gonna say Bobby Witt because he's gonna
No, he's broken out. He's already
yeah.
there. And Pasquantino was hurt last year. I expect a big season from him if he can stay healthy. And he's not with the team right now because he has a bad back. But we're pulling for Massey at second base. But if is it Mackle Garcia, Mackeel, how do you pronounce it?
It's it's basically Michael Garcia.
Michael Garcia.
My
He
my
looks really good.
Michael. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, he looks
okay,
great.
I know you said Marsh. Lugo is another pickup they did this year. When I picked the Royals to win the division, it's not that they're going to be great, but it just seems like they're going to be. They've plugged a few holes, and again, I just think the rest of the division. I don't think much of the Twins, and boy, they've battled injuries already, some severe ones. And also, Brady Singer. You said is going to start. He's a guy that we heard about coming up through the Royal system that was going to be like an ace type stuff, and a couple down years. He had a great first start. What does that mean? We'll see. But usually the pitchers are ahead of the hitters in the beginning of the season. I just think Michael Wacha is another starter. Lugo and Wacha can fill some holes. If Singer finally arrives, and they got Cole Reagans and this kid Marsh that you said, I think they have a chance to be good. Not great, but good is good enough in this division. Whether it be good enough to go from 56 wins to mid 80s and win the division, we'll see. But I think they're going to be a decent team.
Yeah. I think the Royals are going to be fine. I don't have them winning the division. I thought you picked them to win the division, didn't you? Yeah. So, no, I think they're going to be okay. But I don't know. I have no idea who would win this series. Again, this is the third series of the year. I just hope that the White Sox continue to play good defense. Maybe run into a couple home runs like they have been, and the starting pitching can kind of just stay where it's at. With Clevinger signing, it's probably Nick Nastrini probably won't be up here yet anytime soon. So, or they'll maybe start him after the series if Clevinger's not ready. So it'll be just interesting. But again, going back to the Royals, Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, and MJ Melendez are those guys on that team. And again, remember, they do have a couple veterans that they signed. over the offseason, Hunter
Renfro.
Renfro and Adam Frazier. So, and remember the Sox, God, when they're in 2021, Adam Frazier was like a big name to be on the White Sox for that run in the playoffs when they lost to the Astros. But yeah, it again, both teams. If this was last year, it'd be both pretty bad teams playing each other. Still might be this year too, but we'll see what happens. And I really don't have much expectations other than hoping for good baseball.
Yeah, that's what we got to hope for all year is that we can compete. We should be able to hang with the Royals, especially if we get any pitching. When we be getting okay pitching, and we get keep playing defense like we are.
For
It's
sure.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to the series.
Me too. Me too. And you know what? I I think the Sox are going to win this series. I'll say 3 games to 1. I'll be optimistic today. How about that? Because I wasn't so optimistic Saturday. Um,
Um, I'll go split 2-2.
2-2, 2-2. Great. Well, you know what? I don't think we're probably gonna end it here. Not gonna do a immaculate grid today. I do want to announce something though. We have a big announcement, and my uncle Paul would love this if he's gonna listen to this episode. My dad and I are going to do a Bears podcast.
Woo! Which is
So,
funny
yeah, go ahead. What are you getting?
because you are a Chiefs fan and I am a Raiders fan.
Yeah, that's the ironic part. We are two guys that are not Bears fans, but living in Chicago, or the Chicago area too, we know the team very well. I listen to so many radio stations about the Bears consistently. I follow the team more than I do the Chiefs, which is hilarious. So
Oh, by
I am
far.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited to do it. I think a lot of our fans or a lot of people, a lot of my friends, family, they've been saying, "Hey, you guys sound great. Sox are terrible. Can you guys do a Bears podcast?" So we're going to continue to do Soxology. We're going to start Bears probably in a couple weeks, right before the draft, to talk about that, and then maybe do it like once or twice, or probably once a week or once a month, something like that. We haven't figured out all the semantics on it, but we wanted to throw it out there. We don't have names for it yet, so if anybody out there listening has a name for a Bears podcast, that'd be great. It's not Bearsology, doesn't really ring well, so we're
Bear
going to keep with
Stains. Bear-
Soxology. Yeah, we were thinking Bear Stains. Maybe that you had an epiphany in the car the other day, so maybe you'll remember. But you're
Yeah,
starting to get
well,
old now, so
but yeah,
yeah.
so that's tough. But the one thing I think is really good is my whole life being a Raiders fan, but hearing the Bear this year is leap years. That means 366 days. The Chicago sports scene is going to get an extra day to talk about the Bears. So I know way more about the Bears, and an advantage or a good perspective that I think me and you are going to give that's going to be really important is we're not fans of the team, so we get to look at it very
Objectively,
generic, objectively, because which it sometimes will sound negative because if you're objective with a Bear fan, they think you're being totally negative, and you're not. You're
yes.
just saying honestly what you think. I mean, it's just a taste of it is just like the Justin Fields craziness that people thought he was. The people that liked him thought he was Tom Brady, and the people that didn't, thought he was Vince Evans, or Trubisky or something. So there's everything runs hot and cold, and we'll be more steady, and we'll be more honest and more objective. So I think it's a good perspective, and that we can
I do
bring.
too. I think it's gonna be great. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it. I think um instead
Yeah,
of
not
like
negative
the
Bears, just talking about them.
no, it's not gonna be negative Bears. We're just talking Bears. Oh, that's a good name. Talking Bears.
Talking Bears, barely talking.
Barely talking. Yeah, that's good too. But that's tough for you and I. So
Right.
well, as always, we're gonna wrap it up with a go Sox.
Go Sox. Beat them damn Royals. You know?